Hey there, and welcome back to SV's 2 Cents.
Blade Runner is often called a science fiction classic, but I think that description is misleading because this is not really a movie about robots. It is a movie about human beings, about memory, identity, mortality, and one disturbing question. If an artificial being can fear death, seek love, protect life, and suffer emotionally, what exactly makes humans special? Because strangely, in this film, the machines often feel more human than the humans. The world. The movie opens with one of the most unforgettable cityscapes in cinema. Dark skies, industrial fire, smoke, massive towers. A future Los Angeles that looks technologically advanced, but spiritually dead. This city is important because Blade Runner is not showing us a hopeful future. It is showing us a world where progress has continued, but humanity has decayed. People are crowded together, yet emotionally isolated. Everything feels mechanical, artificial, manufactured, even identity. The characters. Before the story begins, let's understand the players. Rick Deckard, the human protagonist, a Blade Runner, essentially a police officer whose job is to hunt and kill replicants. Replicants are bioengineered artificial humans, not metal robots, not machines in the traditional sense. They bleed, think, feel, fight. The only difference is that they are manufactured and designed with a built-in lifespan of 4 years. Deckard is supposed to be human, but strangely he behaves like a machine. Emotionally detached, cold, mechanical, following orders. In fact, the entire city of humans feels the same way. Then there's Roy Batty, the leader of the escaped replicants, and, ironically, the most emotionally alive character in the film. He is angry, intelligent, desperate, not because he wants power, because he does not want to die. Then there's Rachael, perhaps the film's most tragic character, a replicant who believes she is human because her memories have been implanted, her childhood, her emotions, her identity, all constructed, which raises the central philosophical question of the film. Are you human because you have memories, or do you have memories because you are human? Then we have Tyrell, the creator, the corporate god, a man who manufactures life from inside a skyscraper. Detached, intellectual, playing creator without emotional responsibility. And finally, J.F. Sebastian, a lonely scientist with accelerated aging, a man surrounded by artificial creations because real human connection has failed him. Now that we know the main characters, let's move to the story and philosophy. Opening incident. The film opens with an empathy test. A replicant named Leon is being questioned. The purpose of this test is simple: to detect emotional responses, because supposedly empathy is what separates humans from replicants. But something strange happens. Leon reacts violently when asked about his mother and kills the interrogator. At first glance, this seems to prove replicants are dangerous. But think about that question. Tell me about your mother. For a being with no real past, no real childhood, no real origin, that question is existential torture. His violence is not lack of emotion. It may actually be too much emotion. Next, Deckard's return. Deckard is brought back into service, not really asked, threatened, forced. Immediately we notice something ironic. The human being behaves more mechanically than the artificial humans he is hunting. He accepts the assignment almost like a programmed machine. Next is the Tyrell Corporation. Deckard visits Tyrell Corporation, the towering headquarters of the man who creates life. This feels intentionally godlike, a creator sitting high above the world. Deckard is introduced to Rachael. She appears calm, intelligent, sophisticated, entirely human. Deckard administers the empathy test. It takes unusually long. Eventually, Deckard realizes the truth, that she is a replicant too. But she doesn't know it. And that is horrifying. Because if she can live an entire life believing her memories are real, then how much of human identity itself is just constructed narrative? Next, Rachael's breakdown. Later, Rachael comes to visit Deckard. Notice how she doesn't know how to behave. She doesn't walk in on him like a normal person, but just sits quietly in the lift until she is noticed by Deckard. This might be a subtle way of showing how she is unaware of these formalities, having been born just recently. The real Rachael, who was Tyler's niece, has been long dead. Anyways, back to the plot. So Rachael arrives at Deckard's place, emotionally shaken. She learns that her memories are implants, that her childhood never happened, that her emotional foundation may be artificial. Imagine discovering that your most personal memories are borrowed. Your identity would collapse. Deckard initially cruelly confirms this. Then, for the first time in the movie, we see his human element. He softens and lies that it was just a joke. But the damage is done. And this becomes one of the film's deepest philosophical ideas. We are our memories. So if memory can be manufactured, what is the self? Are we something beyond memories? So till this moment, there is more of a world creation going on in the movie. However, the plot of the movie, though simple, is that of investigation. So the middle section becomes detective noir. Deckard investigates clues. A strange scale found in an apartment, initially mistaken for fish, then identified as snakeskin. This leads him deeper into the replicant's trail. On the surface, this is plot progression. But thematically, it matters because Deckard is hunting beings who are increasingly difficult to distinguish from humans. The deeper he goes, the blurrier the line becomes. First major reversal. Deckard encounters one of the replicants and nearly dies. He is physically overpowered. Not saved by police, not saved by his own skill, but saved by Rachael, a replicant herself, killing her own kind and saving her hunter, the very being that is technically supposed to kill her. This changes everything, because now the hunted has shown mercy, and the hunter owes his life to the prey. At his home, Rachael asks a devastating question. Have you ever taken that test yourself? One line, but it changes the entire film. Because now, even Deckard's humanity feels uncertain. And when she looks at his photographs, the movie again quietly reminds us that memories define identity, even his. Sebastian and the Replicants. Meanwhile, Roy and Pris take refuge with JF Sebastian. Sebastian instantly recognizes them as replicants. Why? Because they are too perfect. That's fascinating. The artificial humans are more physically ideal than real humans. But when Sebastian mentions helping design replicants, something shifts. The replicants are hurt because they do not want to be treated as products. They want recognition as beings, not objects. This is crucial. Their struggle is not domination. It is dignity and survival. Being replicants, they have a shorter life of just 4 years. So the villains of this movie are not trying to conquer Earth. They are just trying not to die. And that makes them strangely, painfully human. Next comes a short but one of the interesting sections of the movie. Creation meets the creator. That is, Roy meets Tyrell. This is not villain versus corporation. This is creation confronting creator. Roy asks for more life. That's all. Not wealth, not revenge, more life. Tyrell explains it cannot be done. Then says the famous line about the flame that burns twice as bright. It sounds poetic, almost comforting. But think about how cruel it actually is. It is easy to romanticize suffering when it is not your suffering. Roy has lived intensely, yes, but he still wants to live. Tyrell praises his experiences. Roy wants time. These are not the same thing. And in realizing his creator cannot save him, Roy kills him. This is a child killing God after discovering that even God has no answers. Finally, we move to the climax, the final chase. The ending becomes almost horror. Deckard hunts Pris, another replicant, kills her. Roy finds her body. And here comes another irony. The replicant grieves, he mourns, he kisses her, he expresses loss. The supposedly emotionless machine feels heartbreak, while Deckard, the human protagonist in the film, has spent the entire film killing methodically without emotions. Anyways, then Roy hunts Deckard. He is stronger, faster, completely in control. He could kill Deckard repeatedly, but doesn't. Instead, he punishes him, breaks his fingers, makes him feel fear, makes him experience helplessness. Because this is what the replicants have lived with, a life under someone else's control. After this chase, in the climax scene, Deckard hangs from a rooftop, about to fall. Roy stands above him. This is the moment. Revenge is available. Justice, in Roy's eyes, is available. But Roy saves him. Why? Because at the edge of death, Roy understands life better than anyone else. He knows terror, mortality, loss. And instead of becoming cruel, he becomes compassionate. That is the final irony of Blade Runner. The machine becomes more human than the human. Roy speaks about experiences, his experiences, that will disappear forever. Moments no one saw but him. Memories that will vanish with him. And suddenly, this machine sounds more human than most humans ever do. Because mortality gives meaning. The tragedy is not that Roy was artificial. The tragedy is that his desire to live was completely real. We now move to the ending scene. Deckard looks at Roy differently now, because he finally understands. These were never just machines. They were beings searching for life, searching for origin, searching for meaning, exactly like humans. And so Deckard chooses Rachael, not because she is legal, not because she is human, but because that distinction no longer matters. Final thesis. Blade Runner is not asking, can machines become human? It asks something far more uncomfortable. Have humans already become machine-like? Because in this film, the artificial beings fear death, seek love, question existence, mourn loss, fight for survival, while the humans obey systems, suppress empathy, kill on command. And maybe that is why Blade Runner still feels timeless, not because it predicted technology, because it understood loneliness.
Hope you enjoyed this discussion. Until next time.